Welcome to AI, The Future of Us, a podcast-style video series that explores the way AI is shaping our future and how we can prepare for the changes that lie ahead. I'm your host, Chloe Condon, and today we're joined by Firat Tekiner, who is a senior staff product manager here at Google, focusing on data and AI products. Thank you for being here today.
Hi, Chloe. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for talking to us. So I would love to know about your background and your expertise. Could you tell us a little bit about how you found yourself in this field of data and AI?
That's an interesting question. So I grew up on machine learning and supercomputing. During my PhD, I built my own cluster of, high performance computing environments because there were no such things like cloud and stuff to simulate reinforcement learning. And in the process, through the years, in my time in academia as a postdoc and a senior academic, I became good at data and moved into analytics and moved into industry as well. In the process, I worked with some of the largest organizations on architecting their data and AI environments within the past 20 years. So I sit on the fence, trying to bridge the gap between data and AI, and found ourselves within this world of GenAI at the moment.
And you really can't have one without the other, right? So it's really interesting that you've now found yourself in this role that combines the two. So how did you become interested in AI, and what made it so fascinating to you?
So throughout my studies, I really had an interest when I was in university, but then during my PhD, the problem that I had to solve was looking for the optimal routing algorithm. Then one day I went and was listening how the biologists in the department were talking around ants, and I heard that they always find the shortest path from
So we're
their.
talking about little like picnic blanket ants, right?
Yes, absolutely, and they're fascinating, creatures, right? It was interesting to see and read all these articles in Nature and everything as well, because they always somehow find this, path from the food source and to their nest, the shortest path. They release some chemicals on the way, and these chemicals in time evaporates as well, and more ants goes through the shortest path all the time. And this acts like a reinforcement learning when it is applied in machine learning in a sense. Someone applied it, I applied different ways and weaves into that as well. And that afterwards I moved into supercomputing because that's what I was doing within my research as well, and work at the National Center for Supercomputing and Text Mining here in Manchester, UK, and looking at the core ML models throughout my academic work and focusing on the very large data problems as well. And that continued after I moved into industry. I continued supervising PhD students and such, and focusing things like forecasting stock prices, looking to see how we can optimize and so on. So my career really built around data and AI for the past 25 years in academia and industry.
And I love that it all started with ants, right? As and they're just walking around all around us, not knowing that they've inspired someone who works at Google who works on AI and ML stuff. Shout out to ants.
Absolutely.
So could you share some of your key data and AI developments that you've witnessed during your career? I'm sure you've seen a lot of interesting data and come to a lot of interesting conclusions from that data. I'd love to learn more about what you've seen and learned.
Yes, that's an interesting question. So for me, the way that it happens is that the AI and data problems always have three dimensions. First is the storage, so the data portion of it. The second is the algorithms. And the third part is the computational power that you use. It is like a triangle, and we are seeing the data, AI, and supercomputing are really coming together. So the first one is the rise of big data, really coming from Google, funnily enough, whilst I was doing my research as well. And having the availability of large data sets has been essential for development of the ML algorithms as well. These data sets allow ML algorithms to learn from lot wider range of examples, which make them more accurate and robust. So the big data era, fueled by Hadoop, really enabled that we stored a lot more data. And then that led to the development of new algorithms as well. The ML researchers have developed wide range of algorithms within the recent years, starting from deep learning algorithms, where they have enabled the computers to achieve how the human's brain work really when you look at the neural networks, but achieving superhuman performance and exploiting that capability with huge amounts of computational power on tasks such as image recognition and natural language processing. And we know that this is applied to many disciplines. And the increased use in computing power has also been a major factor in progress of ML as well, because if once you increase the amount of data that you are feeding into these algorithms, effectively what's happening is you are making your problem size bigger as well, and more powerful computers can now train ML models on larger data sets, which also leads to more complex algorithms.
So, in your opinion, what are the main challenges that firms face on generating value from data and AI applications?
The the power of big data and machine learning is undeniable. They are here, they have the potential to revolutionize the businesses and how we solve very large problems. They can be used to create compelling customer experiences, or they can be used to really solve very challenging problems like how we find interaction between proteins and such as well. Uh, Data, on the other hand, is the field for AI. ML algorithms would only work well with the data that they are fed into. That means that you need to have the high quality data in order to get the most out of your machine learning algorithms. On the other hand, the problem is that a lot of organizations have been creating these data mountains or data oceans, whereby the storage is very cheap and they've been bringing all of these data sources together. And it is really becoming very hard for them to analyze and use this data in a meaningful way to get the value out of it. The cloud really comes into play here because it allows organizations to bring usually siloed applications closer to each other. It is improving the way that we have access to the systems, and it is helping lots of personas to come and access to the systems as well. However, you still need to find a way to process, annotate, enrich, and expand your data in order to make it more meaningful, really. Generative AI is the really a new type of AI that can help you to automate, summarize, and generate more meaningful data, particularly from unstructured data like the text and such as well. It is important because if you can consume this data in an automated way, imagine that all of the libraries and everything that you have, you'll be able to get most out of it. However, as I mentioned, you really need to have high quality data in order to get the most out of it as well. The cloud, as I said, brings your data together and make it more accessible. But generative AI is kind of the future of the data science, and it can help you to really summarize and automate the processes that you are dealing with, and also generate data as well. It really comes to a choice between whether you should be building your solutions or whether you should be using a pre-built solutions as well. And I'm not going to get into the details of the foundational models and LLMs and such. There are a lot of talks around that, but it's really around whether you should be using one or building yourself.
Can you expand a little bit more on the decision around building and buying and how organizations can address this, moving forward with data mountains, for example?
Yes, the choice between building and buying is there are three of them actually, right? So you either build something or you use existing one, but there's also a middle part as well, which we call AutoML type solutions or BigQuery ML type solutions here that we have in Google as well. The building your own ML models can be very expensive and time consuming on one end, right? But it gives you the most control over the process and allows you to customize your models to your specific needs. on the other hand, buying ML models can be much faster and more efficient option. However, you may be limited to the features and functionality of the models that are available. The best option for you will depend on your specific needs, budget. If you have resources to build your own models, it might be the best option for you, but it also depends what type of organization you are as well. Not all the organizations have a lot of folks who will be able to do that. But let me get a little bit more detail into it and expand a little bit more as well. It should start with identifying the right AI use case for, it is essential for success really. You need to have a clear understanding of your business goals and the problems that you are trying to solve. And once you know what you are trying to achieve, you can start identifying the AI technologies that can help you to get there. It is important to think big, but also start small as well. Don't try to build a complex AI system from the ground up. Instead, start with a simple use case that you get quickly implement and test. You understand what is available there. And if your teams are not familiar with some of the processes, it helps you to resolve that at the beginning, right? And as I mentioned, there are three main, levels that you can do this. One of them is buying that you can use APIs. You can use pre-trained API models that are available, right? AI models that are available as APIs. And the easiest way to get started with AI is really this way. But it offers the least flexibility for you on the flip side. What we call AutoML is that it gives you the ability to use the tools to automate the process of building and training AI models. This is a good option if you have some technical expertise, but you don't want to spend a lot of time on model development. And there's also the custom models, as we said, that you can build your own AI models from scratch. And this doesn't only apply to the generative AI solutions or LLMs. It applies generally for all the ML problems out there. The key is though, right? It is an optimization problem. You need to decide and whether your teams have the skill set. Usually what we see and what I see from the organizations have been doing, you start experimenting from one, the easiest one, you move into the other, and then once you develop that expertise, understand which ones are giving you the most return for your investments, then you can invest more time on building custom models as well.
And what are some of your tips for organizations who are looking to start their data and AI journeys? Where should they have their head at when they're beginning this journey?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. The best way to choose the right level of AI development is to really look into your specific needs and goals. If you need a quick and easy solution, as I mentioned, API-based AI solution is a good one, right? But I would focus on the business problem first. What are the specific problems you are trying to solve? You shouldn't be doing it just for the sake of doing that. Look for the opportunities to automate tasks because these type of AI problems, AI applications can really help you to automate any repetitive or time-consuming tasks, particularly from the generative AI side of things. But identifying right data sources, we said that data is fuel for AI as well, and what do you need to train the data, your ML algorithms with? What are the data sources are the most important ones? And consider the cost of implementation. How much time that you are going to invest from the personnel and how much resources that you are going to need if you are training things as well. And also it is important. What type of organization are you? Not everyone should focus on creating models, but you should be able to use them as well, right? And what type of organization that you are is not the entire organization that you are in, but it might be the team that you are in as well. You might be working with other teams within your organization who might be developing the models, and you might be just calling the APIs available through them as well.
So you mentioned generative AI, and do you have some examples of how Gen AI is currently being used effectively in the data ecosystem?
Yes, that's an interesting question. So, it is effectively top of mind for everyone to really look into democratizing analytics because everyone is really looking for assistive development capabilities. So, effectively, what happens is that everyone comes, you provide some natural language, and then with that natural language, it helps you to write the code. So it gives you a kickstart, right? So it also helps you to automate code generation, as I mentioned, but it goes further. It can help you debugging things and even help you to do performance optimization and such as well. It is really making the ML side of things and data more accessible to everyone within your organization, including the non-technical users, right? So traditionally what we see is that you need to write SQL queries or Python code or some Java code or Spark code as well. You can generate some of that and you can get to the insights very quickly. But it is really important at the same time to have human intervention, for these tasks as well. The goal is to make it easier for everyone to develop better quality code regardless of their skill set, but it is not really aiming to replace people doing that. And what I say is that, people who have the better backgrounds will be able to fare better. So that is the assistive support, right? There's also the huge focus on tapping into the potential of the unstructured data, particularly using LLMs, and everyone is looking to extract value from unstructured data. It is like we are sitting on a gold mine that we haven't really tapped into yet, right? Because there's so much unstructured data, whether, as I mentioned, text or images and such, and we can get more value and we can bring this near to the structured data that we have and enrich it with the unstructured data for better insights with our interactions, either by customers or the problems that we are trying to solve. And the one that we are seeing is doing more automation and as well as a generation, right? Customers are looking for ways to automate repetitive tasks, but also generate content as well, such as emails and documents or even website. You might have your data in your data warehouse, and with a click of a button, by joining that with your structured data, you might be generating emails or you might be generating website content and such. So it is really bringing these diverse environments together and augmenting with unstructured data is what everyone is looking for.
I'm pretty sure that all of the data that I've done on social media pointed me towards buying this shirt because I like Google branded things. So shout out to Data for suggesting all of these things that I end up buying in my feed. So you mentioned a little bit about, democratizing analytics and really you mentioned giving non-technical people access to this data. This seems really like a game changer for everyone to be able to use AI. Could you talk a little bit, more about, automation and generation and how people are using these products?
So some of the things that I'm saying is organizations, the unstructured data gives you, for example, you might look into some social data, right? Social media data, whether if you have a brand or if you have a product, as like the one that you might have just purchased, right? You might go and put your feelings, whether you like it or whether you didn't like it, into a social media platform. And you can capture this and you can look into the sentiment of that person, for example, using things like LLMs, right? You can then go and classify this whether Chloe was happy with this purchase or she wasn't happy with that purchase, and then you can take next action, and you might fire off an email or something like that, right?
And that's
Uh,
why I get so many things about theme parks. So all the data is saying that I'm a very happy person who loves theme parks is what I'm getting from that. And
yes.
and that seems like a really top concern for people at the moment is how do we make sure that AI is used for good, and how do we know that, here at Google, we of course have all our AI principles, but can we dive a little bit more into AI being used for good?
I think the key is taking a human centric approach, understanding the way that users will interact with the service that you are building and assisting them. Looking at multiple metrics will help you to understand your model better, as well as thinking about what are some of the metrics that you might want to, monitor in production. For example, when we have an AI system in production, how are we going to measure performance or some of the issues that might arrive? Uh, Also, this is an iterative process. You should be testing, you should be learning, and you should be improving and going back into testing. It is like a never ending process, really, because the way that we are interacting with the systems is changing all the time. You might have heard, I mentioned already, the reinforcement learning. The little ants always learns the way that they operate within their ecosystem as well. But we human beings also, as we interact with the systems, can provide feedback to these algorithms and these systems that we are using, and we should bring that in as well. But as we said, data is key for everything. Understand your data. That is the core for the system that you have. What are the features used? Whether this is something generated by a team that that you are involved in, or by a third party that can be within your organization or outside of your organization, you might not know what the data that goes into it. It's really, again, coming back, and it is all about data. It is the high quality data that you bring in, that you understand whether it has been derived from, and you understand the qualities of the data, that really helps us to be more human centric as well.
And speaking of data, let's talk about data professionals. So, how should data professionals think about what AI and data and all of these things are doing to their day to day and their roles?
Most data practitioners really spend most of their time doing repetitive tasks, and we have many personas dealing with different parts of the challenge, right? So you might have data engineers creating pipelines, data analysts analyzing the data, and data scientists, looking for insights. Yet everyone in the organization is part of this process as well. There has been, a lot of talks around the data mesh and such, trying to solve the challenges and bringing the organizational sides together. But as we said, the goal is we are going to be seeing more and more of these personas overlapping on the things that they're doing. I mentioned that data engineers are creating pipelines and data analysts are analyzing it. The data scientists are doing the ML models. Well, with the assistive capabilities, we'll be seeing some of the data engineers perhaps tapping into the qualities of the ML models, and they might go and say, I've just created this data, I've just joined these two data sources, but I would like to classify this. You run an ML model, and maybe directly from the data warehouse that you are working from, and you classify the data. Now you are doing the core ML tasks as well as a data engineer. Traditionally, that's not something that you would do, and we'll be seeing more and more of this happening. But this doesn't mean that these professions and the personas are going to go away. I feel like they are going to be here. They are going to be powered by these tools, but they are going to be a lot more productive. They'll spend more time on what is important rather than creating these repetitive tasks.
And what do you believe is the most exciting potential application of AI that we've yet to see? What do you think's out there that we've yet to see in this world of exciting new possibilities?
I'll follow on from what I said just earlier. It is democratization of data and AI, right? So, for example, I'm a C programmer by trade. I've written a lot of C code. I know how to write SQL, but there are lots of people who write better SQL than I do, right? And I openly say this. And what I tend to do these days is I go and generate my SQL first, right? Or if I write some SQL, I go and check whether there's a better version of that SQL. So it is assisting me. It is helping me to have that starting point as well. Or I might not find that function on top of mind when I write some SQL, and I can go and generate that. But at the same time, working with unstructured data, we are also making data more accessible for everyone, such as text. It wasn't as always straightforward as it was today to process text data. For example, if you wanted to create an analysis on overall customer satisfaction, you would have rarely used text review using machine learning, right? For sentiment analysis, as I mentioned before, for the social data. Or there would be other solutions, such as You might have seen that there has been some work have been done on the medical data, which gives you more prescriptive answers. You might go and search what are the symptoms for XYZ illness, right? And you can get from a very specific models that are trained on very specific corpus and tuned on very specific ways as well. And with LLMs, this is what has changed. It is really making data more accessible to the wider community.
What advice would you give to individuals and businesses looking to prepare for a future in which AI plays an even more significant role than it does now?
So foundations are still the key. You still need the core domain knowledge to be able to leverage the most out of the capabilities these systems provide. In order to get the value out of it, you should be able to understand the feedback that you get from these systems. This will be trickier to analyze. So you should be able to have that core domain expertise as well as the technical expertise in computer systems. And if you have the foundations, you'll be able to really successful on creating the right projects. But also your creativity is going to play a significant role, in my opinion, because it is going to make it, make you more creative. You'll not be spending more time on repetitive tasks because you are automating that. You'll be able to focus on what are the core capabilities, and using LLMs in your day-to-day work, you'll be able to really get that creative person out of yourself. It will allow organizations to come out with more innovative solutions as a result, and it will give you more tool sets to display your creativity as well.
And as we look ahead to the future of data and AI, what would be your last words before we finish this off?
And you might have, for that I have been saying, data, 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 right? It is all about data. Yes, I understand everyone wants to hear the, ML algorithms and everything. Yes, that's what my background as well. But I spend most of my time, 80% of my time, preparing the data for the ML algorithms that I fit into. It's also important to focus on the use cases. It is very important to identify what is the right solution and what is the right use case for the challenges that you are asked to deal with, right? You should be able to identify what are the right approaches from the AI and ML side as well. Not all the algorithms work, well. For example, the LLMs are good at telling you and giving you concise answers from the text data that they have. Also, we have ML models that gives you how the weather might be tomorrow, right? But they'll not be able to tell you. For example, Chloe, if I tell you that tomorrow it might be raining where you are based, but I cannot tell you whether you would be taking your umbrella with you when you go out or not, right? That's a decision that sits with you, and ML algorithms will not be able to help you on that. And also, we need to realize that every organization, every team that we operate is very different. They'll have different capabilities and they'll have different skills. It is therefore important to treat and find what are the right ways of getting to the point that we want to get. But underneath all of these, having an integrated data and AI ecosystem is core for success. Because if you are spending your time always finding how much memory that I need, how many CPUs that I would need, you'll not be able to get there. Or do I need access rights to this system? I'm working on the system. You'll not be able to get there. You need an integrated data and AI ecosystem really for success.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Firat. It's been so insightful to hear your thoughts on the impact of effective use of AI. We covered a lot of topics today, and I'm so excited for people to learn more. And we look forward to seeing how AI will continue to shape the world around us, and hope that our viewers will be inspired to embrace its potential and opportunities.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed this chat.